This is the Louie T Network. Hey, either you're outside or you're
in the lab room.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome. You are in the lab room. Of course, I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me. Week number 14 in the National Football League. Pittsburgh Steelers on the road, handling a little bit of family business versus the AFC North leaders, the Cincinnati Bengals, on the road in the jungle. Welcome to the jungle. We got fun and games. The jungle. Welcome to the jungle. Could the Steelers tame the Bengals in the jungle? Tough place to get a W. And so this was a big one because I talk about the Steelers in very high regard, and I don't know why. They've tantalized and teased me all season long. Every time I think, this is the Steelers. No, this is really the real Steelers right here. Whether it's the dismantling of Baltimore at home, or the beatdown of Indy at home, or any number of games, the road victory over Carolina, that's really the Steelers. And then you get the loss at home to Tampa Bay. Then you get the loss at Cleveland. Then you get the loss at home to New Orleans, and you're like, I don't know who these guys are. But I said it on my preview for this game. This team rises to the challenge. I'd much rather have a team that plays their best football when they're playing against their best competition than a team that can't get it done against the best competition in the league. So basically, you can either be the Steelers or you can be the Eagles. When you see some of the best teams around the league, you lose, which is what the Eagles do, beat up on all the inferior competition. Or you can be the Steelers, play down to the level of your competition, win some, lose some to some teams you shouldn't, but always rise to the occasion. Whether you win or you lose, it's either going to be damn close or you're going to beat teams that are on that same level, maybe even one higher than you. So I'll take my chances with the Steelers any day. And again, I say I trust Ben Roethlisberger when it's all said and done. Flip side, Cincinnati Bengals. Here's a team, 8-3-1 coming into this game. A lot of questions. More questions than answers for me. For a team that's leading a division right now, they probably have the most questions to answer. Not comfortable with them winning this division right now. I'm just not. I don't think they're, because see, when we get to the playoffs, we can sit here and talk about, all of the things that the Steelers don't do well and this, that, and the other. But at least I know everybody in the playoffs is good, except for the team that wins the NFC South. But forget about all that. Everybody in the playoffs is good, okay? There are no more Jacksonvilles to find a win against. There are no more Tennessee Titans. There are no more Oakland Raiders. There are no more of those teams left. When the playoffs start, it's all good football teams. And you give me the Steelers against good football teams, I'll tell you what, the Steelers going to give you a run for your money. Whereas Cincinnati, you got Andy Dalton, and I just don't know about that guy. And it's not just Andy, okay? I don't want to beat Andy up. This isn't a Andy Dalton pinata here because it's not just him. This team isn't the same. The defense isn't as good as it used to be. We'll see that in this game. Matter of fact, I'm not going to give you this whole soliloquy. Let's jump into this one. Steelers, 7-5 coming into the game. And you got the AFC North leading Cincinnati Bengals, 8-3-1. Let's jump into this breakdown. We go straight to the second quarter. Nothing of any substance occurred in the first quarter. So we go straight to the second quarter. Steelers break the seal on the scoring in this game with a 1-yard Heath Miller touchdown on a 9-play, 89-yard touchdown drive. So good start to the second quarter for the Steelers. They get in the end zone. It's now 7-0 Steelers in this game. Bengals answer with a touchdown drive to their tight end, Jermaine Gresham, and they knotted up at 7 with a 10-yard touchdown grab for Jermaine Gresham. So we're all knotted and squared away at 7. After the Steelers had a penalty negate an interception, we almost had an Andy go moment. No. Steelers have a penalty. Give me back the football. The Bengals, and I talked about this last week, when he had a 5-yard read option to get in the end zone versus Tampa Bay, I said, They don't run it often in Cincinnati, but when they do, almost like the Dos Equis commercial. I don't drink beer often, but when I do, it's Dos Equis. They don't run read option often in Cincinnati, but when they do, Andy's pretty special, okay? Andy runs it right. And he got in the end zone last week on a 5-yarder, does it again here, pulls it out of the belly. The thing I love about Andy, he keeps it there to the very last second. Now, that would bite them in the tuchus later on in the game. When we get there, we'll talk about it. But, hey, ran it beautifully here. Nobody in sight on that edge. Andy takes off and shows us some wheels. Andy shows us the wheels, man. I don't know what Andy's running these days. That looked like about a 4.65 to me. Andy turned it up. No, seriously, turn it up. Andy turned it up on those boys, split the seam, got in the end zone, 20 yards clean. It's 14-7. Hey, Cincinnati on top. Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Big Ben and the Steelers will respond with a field goal right before the half. Even though they got all the way down and got the field goal, they had a golden opportunity to get in the end zone and tie this football game up. 1st and goal from the 6. 3 opportunities to get in the end zone. They could not. Had to settle for a field goal. It's 14-10. That is our halftime score. We come to the 3rd quarter. Steelers reassume the lead on a 10-play drive that ends in a sweet L.B 10-yard touch. It was a gorgeous play. Okay, so he's in the backfield. L.B lined up. This guy is so smooth, silky smooth. L.B. So he's in the backfield. They run a play. He goes up the middle, and it's a choice route. So if the defender is shading him to the outside, you go to the inside. If the defender is squared up with you, you make the decision. You make the call. And if he's shading you to the inside, you go outside. So he gets to the middle of the hole, and there's the linebacker, man-to-man coverage, and he's squared up with him. And L.B sticks that foot in the ground. Shimmy, shake. Oh, sticks the foot in the ground. Defender goes that way. He goes that way. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Touchdown. It's now 17-14. Steelers on top in this football game. He had a huge day. We'll talk about L.B a little bit later on. But not to be outdone, as the Cincinnati Bengals had not trailed at the end of a quarter. Didn't trail at the end of the first, as nobody had scored. Didn't trail at halftime. They were up 14-10. He said, look, we're not going to trail going into the 4th quarter. And look, you say what you want about Andy. The red rifle can throw the deep ball. Him and A.J. Young, fresh and green, him and A.J. Green had beautiful chemistry on the deep ball. And when Andy's right, the man can throw the deep ball. And on this particular play, Andy was right. He sets up the red rifle, launches it deep. AJ's behind the coverage, beats double coverage, catches the football. It's on the money, in stride, able to split the guys, get to the end zone. 81-yard touchdown strike at the end of the 3rd quarter as time expires in the 3rd quarter. Cincinnati back on top, 21-17. What a play, what a play, what a play. And so, and speaking of career days, okay, L.B had a career day. So did Young, fresh and green. A.J. Green had a monster day last week. Follows that up with an even bigger week this week. That guy has it on tilt right now. A lot of DBs don't want to see the Cincinnati Bengals get into the postseason because of 18. That dude is special. So we go to the 4th quarter, 21-17, Cincinnati on top in this football game. And that's when the L.B show started. And the Cincinnati Bengals started losing this football game. 53-yard L.B scamper sets up a field goal. It's now 21-20, Cincinnati clinging to a 1-point lead. The mishandling of the read option leads to disaster, and I talked about them running read option. And see, this is them being too cute. They went to the well one too many times, because I said they don't run read option often. You may see read option 1 week, won't see it for 3 weeks in Cincinnati, and you may see it in a game once, maybe twice, but that's not something that they do on the regular. This was the 2nd time we've seen read option in this game. They had to pay for it. And I talked about Andy holding that ball to the last minute. Well, he held on to it too long this time. Neither one of them knew exactly what was going on. And Andy thought the running back was going to take it. Running back thought Andy, hey, he kept it the first time, probably going to keep it this time. So he leaves without the football. Andy leaves without the football. Oops, cookies, yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. Cookies on the ground. Somebody's going to pick them up and eat them. Steelers get it. And that leads to a Steelers touchdown. They get this football, recover it at the 23-yard line of the Cincinnati Bengals. So you know they're in business. They cash in with a 13-yard L.B touchdown scamper. 2-point conversion is good to Heath Miller. It's now 28-21 Steelers on top in this game. The ensuing possession after a Cincinnati punt, they pin the Steelers at the 6-yard lines. They set up a Big Ten 94-yard touchdown. Rumble, young man, rumble. As my man, Martavis Bryant, gets behind the defense. The boys are burning. Look, I told you, coming out of college, there weren't many things he couldn't do. The reason he was a third-round selection, raw as a receiver, which I really haven't seen a lot of raw play out of him this season. And two, he didn't catch the football as cleanly as you would have liked him to at Clemson. And oh yeah, he played behind a guy named Samuel Watkins. Ever heard of him? So you can see how he could fall kind of through the cracks, but this kid is ultra-talented, uber-talented. You saw it. I told you, not only is he 6'4", not only is he a guy that can leap out of the gym, man's running a sub-4 440. Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. Cincinnati had to find that out the hard way. 94 yards later, he's in the end zone. This game is getting ugly. In here, oh, in here, oh, in here, oh. It's now 35-21. You're in the danger zone. You shouldn't be alone. If you're Cincinnati, I need something. Not now, like right now. But show's over. And just to put that exclamation point on the performance, my man L.B does it one more time after a bad Huber punt. Sets the Steelers up with the football at midfield. L.B caps the game off with a 22-yard scamper down the sidelines into the end zone. He has 26 carries, about $185, 2 touchdowns on the ground, another one catching. So receiving touchdown, two more on the ground. First Steeler to have 8 or more games of 100 all-purpose yards in one season. The guy is dynamite. Dynamite! As the Cincinnati Bengals found out firsthand, you don't want to mess with L.B. You don't want to mess with any of the Killer Bees. He's just one member of the Killer Bees, Ben, Brown, and Bell. Now you know. Hey, slick, blow. It's 42-21, your final score in this game as the Steelers go on the road and wallop the Cincinnati Bengals. This was a tough one to swallow, but again, I said this on the preview. I'm sticking this was my thing before the season started. Despite all the losses, after every loss, I say I don't know why. But this Pittsburgh Steelers team, for some reason, they've got my attention. I don't know what it is, but they've got me hook, line, and sinker. I can't put them away. I can't say to myself they're not the team that I think they're going to be or thought they were going to be before the season started. And this is why. Every time you want to leave these guys for dead, every time they have one of those performances that makes you scratch your head, they come back and do something like this. I just think that this team has too much talent offensively to not end up in the postseason, to not end up the AFC North champions, to not end up one of the better teams in the AFC. That's just my opinion. You see it firsthand. When these guys are on offensively, there's not a better group in the league than the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get it done 42-21. Go to 8-5. Still not leading that division. Still behind the Cincinnati Bengals by percentage points because of that tie. However, they've got these same Cincinnati Bengals to close out the season in Pittsburgh, Week 17. That could be for the division. I expect it to be for the division. But again, we've got 3 more games before we can even start talking about Week 17. You got to get through the next 2 games to get to that final game. So anybody's guess as to what can happen. If you're Cincinnati, whether you win the division or you don't, you need to still make sure you're in a position, whether you win that final game or not, that you're going to get into the postseason. You want that game to be for the division, but if you win it, you win the division. If you lose it, hey, I'm in anyway. So you need to make sure you take care of business. You got a huge one at home, or excuse me, on the road at Cleveland. They drugged you the last time you saw them in your own place. Probably going to get you some of that Jonathan football. So be ready for that. That's going to be interesting. This was a big one. Steelers got it done. Bengals don't. But again, season's not done. You're still the leaders of the clubhouse in the AFC North. Got to take care of some family business on the road if you are Cincinnati. And I talked about this defense not being the same earlier. 42 points used to never happen in the jungle. This is not the same Cincinnati Bengals defense that used to carry this team. And despite Andy Dalton's shortcomings, they used to get it done. That's not the same team. If Andy doesn't play well, this team doesn't stand a chance because the defense isn't holding anybody down any longer. That's going to do it for Steelers and Cincinnati Bengals. Thank you for joining me here in the Lab Room. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. Come back and join me as I've got plenty more games to break down in week number 14 in the National Football League. See you. Bet.
In the lab.